What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we are here to take a look at the final injury report of the week, the Lions and Vikings. We have a ton of designations for today, which is exciting because sometimes you don't get this many. We got a lot today. We got some news from both sides. We got some good news from the Lions side, which is great. And for the Vikings side, there's some interesting stuff going on. Plus, we have some notes from some coaches, including Dan Campbell, Aubrey Pleasant. So let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome, everybody, to my video. Glad you guys are here. I don't know why I'm wearing these headphones. Just realized I was wearing headphones. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm wearing them. I could put them back on. But I took them off. I feel like it's going to be weird to put them back on. So I'm just going to... We're going to rock the stylish look. You know, we're just going to have them down here hanging. Okay, stop. Hey, by the way, before we get this video started, I want to let you guys know that my gaming channel, DoseOfDion, if you guys want to check that out, it's one of the channels that's linked on my homepage. It's my gaming channel. We haven't posted anything there like a month, but I did upload something today. We went back on the Resident Evil 8. We did another episode of that. This time I did it pre-recorded. The audio came out kind of weird because I accidentally recorded the audio twice, so it had an echo. And I had to take one of those out, which made the audio kind of loud and weird. It's watchable, all right? But I can learn from that, and I won't make that mistake again, okay? Like Dan Campbell says, I won't make that again. That's a good thing to learn from. But I think it's definitely worthwhile if you guys want to watch me play a scary game. The game definitely just took the scary notch up a level. I kind of stopped playing this game because I was like, man, this is not what I expected buying this after playing 7. Played it, and I was like, oh, snap, this game just got legit. So we're going to be back on there, whether that's a stream or a recording soon. But make sure you get caught up before we do that. Go check out the episode if you guys want to. DoseOfDion. But now let's get into this injury report. I'm sorry, I had to put that in there because I'm just excited that we're back to it. But let's get into this injury report. We're going to go again with the Minnesota Vikings. We started with the Vikings all week, so let's continue that process. As you guys can see, the big one on the right is today's injury report, and we do have some designations. Off to the right, where it says in, questionable, a couple of these I have in white because they're like major ones. Those are the designations all the way on the right for these players, and I did want to put in the participation report. That's why I waited. I just want to make sure we had the participation so we can make some, you know, educated guesses on who would play, some projections on who may play based on their practice for this week. So if it's in green, you know, they obviously improved. If it's in red, they didn't improve. So a couple ones that stick out. First one, Anthony Barr. Again, practice today. He is then labeled as in for this game. He did not show up with a designation, so he's going to play in this game. And Mike Zimmer, who gives a lot of really short answers. You know, when I watch other coaches, I went from Matt Nagy, then I watched Mike Zimmer. I'm very grateful that we have a guy like Dan Campbell doing the media stuff. I really am. When they ask you a question, you say, yeah, good, and that's it, and he just stands there. It's awkward, all right? And you don't really learn anything from it. That's kind of what Mike Zimmer's answers are like. I'm just saying, if it works, it works. A fan who wants to hear a little bit more about the team, understand what's going on, we don't get to see the behind the scenes. It's nice to have a guy like Dan Campbell who actually explains some answers. Come with some energy, come with some life, you know, have some fun with it, rather than what I've seen a couple of other places. But either way, he was asked about Anthony Barr. They were asked if he was probably going to come in and play his full-time role, even though we haven't seen him in a very long time, like we said yesterday. And the answer Mike Zimmer gave us was, yeah, he should be able to be good to go. So expect to see Anthony Barr a lot. There were some questions of, you know, what role would he take? Because Nick Vigil stepped in and he's played every defensive snap with Anthony Barr not on the field. We did talk about Lynch yesterday, who's made some plays. They have a good linebacker unit. I started diving into the Vikings film a little bit today, and they do. They have really good linebackers. Anthony Barr's going to be interesting because, like we said, 6 quarters in about 31 months. That's a ton of time that he has not played. So a lot of the fans are still kind of like, what are we going to get from Anthony Barr? But I know it's exciting for them because he's going to be likely making his debut and likely playing a lot in this game against the Lions. So good update there if you're a Vikings fan for Anthony Barr. By the way, I'm looking at names like Chris Boyd. They did a thing on the Vikings side, which I thought was cool. They did like an open the box challenge where they had to do some math questions or try to figure out what the numbers were to open the box. And in the box there was Halloween candy and Halloween treats. And I actually enjoyed the video. They had some math questions up there. I'm like, oh, snap, I could do this. So I wrote them down, and I'm feeling good. Like, they showed them on the screen. I'm like, oh, I can do this. I'm going to beat the player. I did it so fast. I felt good about myself. And I'm listening to him break it down. I'm like, nah, that don't make sense. I mean, actually, he might be right. I failed the math part. So I would have been the guy that's trying to figure out the numbers, okay? The missing numbers on players' jersey. The math stuff, nah. Especially when they got to like the third question. There was like so many letters in there. I was like, nope, don't need to go back to algebra. Not my thing. I just thought it was interesting though. That was pretty cool to show that behind the scenes. I like when they do that. We got Jamal that. Chris Boyd, he's healthy. He's going to be in for this game. Depth cornerback, more of a special teams player, Chris Boyd. Rashad Breeland. Now, he also spoke to the media today, and man, they were coming at him. They were coming at him with some fire today, okay? Rashad Breeland, he struggled so far this season. And someone actually brought up his PFF grade to him. And I was like, dang, that's bold. They were like, BFF graded these cornerbacks out of 103. You rank 103. It's like, is that a little embarrassing?
103 cornerbacks in the League Pro Football Focus ranks you number 103 and last. Is that kind of embarrassing?
That really don't bother me. I mean, we do your ratings on your reports. You probably like, what, 101?
Short, but obviously Rashad Breeland, he hasn't played extremely well. Some Vikings fans aren't super happy. Because of that, they've had Cam Dantzler on the bench. He stepped in last week. Rashad Breeland was asked, is he okay? Because he was out last week with an illness. He said, yeah, he's good. He could have played last week, but they were good with Cam Dantzler, so like, hey, let's just keep you on the sideline. But he's going to be healthy for this week. And we've talked about this all week. Who are the snaps going to go to? I mean, they could get both out on the field, but is Rashad Breeland go back to being the starting cornerback, a guy that struggled, where Mike Zimmer said he thinks that he's had issues with technique in the red zone specifically? So we'll see if they go back to Rashad Breeland this week. It'll be interesting to see that and where they go with those snaps. I'd rather see Rashad Breeland on the field. I'm just going to be honest. I would rather see that. However, Cameron Bynum, another cornerback, rookie this season out of Cal. He's going to be in for this game, another depth guy. This is the big one. It's Dalvin Cook. We've talked about it all week. First 2 days, he didn't practice. So this is good news. He's back to limited participation. Yesterday, we said he took a couple of snaps or handoffs from Kirk Cousins, but he was still listed with no participation. Well, according to Mike Zimmer in his short answers, he did say that Dalvin Cook was out there getting in some work today, and he shows up with limited participation. Mike Zimmer said that it's likely going to be a game time decision with him. But I think we've also said throughout the week, I kind of expect Dalvin Cook to play. Like, he's made it clear he really wants to play this week, even if he's not 100%. It's just how much will they utilize him on the field? Because last week he only had 9 carries. He split a load with Alexander Madison. The Cleveland Browns really did a good job of slowing down that run game. And actually, Dan Campbell went into this today, and we'll get into it more when we get to the preview this weekend. That's what the Vikings are. He said, I think they live and die by the run game. It's all about Dalvin Cook. Madison's a good running back. He didn't bring up Fear, but I think he should have. Either way, he said, it's all about Dalvin Cook. It's about that run game. They live and die by it, and they have about 2 passes off of it. We know they're a big play action heavy team. We've seen that pass, like when we gave up 42 points to them. That one hurt. If you can't stop the run, you can be in trouble. They hit you with some of those passes, and they have a couple of shot plays off it. We know about the weapons that they have. But last week, a Cleveland Browns team who really stopped the run, Madison, 10 carries, 20 yards. Cook, 9 carries, 34 yards. They pretty much shut that part down, and it caused some issues for that Vikings offense. Now, defensively, the Vikings got a good defense, and they caused some issues for a Browns offense that's got a very talented offensive line. Aubrey Pleasant said today, they're third in the NFL in explosive plays. And like Aaron Glenn said yesterday, we have to do better at limiting the explosives because that's what the Lions have had an issue with up to this point in the season, giving up big plays. Last week, we saw Bobby Price give up a few of those. We just had some issues giving up some of those big plays, and we can do well on third downs. We did much better stopping the run after the first drive, but we gave up some explosive plays in the pass game. And if you don't limit those, you're going to be in trouble. So stop the run, stop the explosive. You're probably in a good spot, but that's much easier said than done. Regardless, you have to avoid the miscommunications. I mean, it's going to happen, but you get a blatant miscommunication, that's a problem. And Dan Campbell talked about making the same mistakes. Why we're going to see more Jerry Jacobs this week. But that is really what it's all about. And last week, Justin Fields tested Price countless times. And I'm assuming whether it's Jacobs, Price, whoever it may be, assuming it's Jerry, they're going to come out and try to test him right away. So if Jerry can stand up to the challenge, like if he did right away against Green Bay, we'll be in a real good spot. Because Kirk Cousins won't have that guy that he can just turn and throw it to every play. This is obviously a big one to keep an eye on. I think the Lions are anticipating Cook to play, and I would anticipate Cook to play as well, because it just doesn't seem like he's going to be out this game, starting back to Wednesday, and now him being promoted to limited participation, it just seems like we'll see him. I don't know how much we'll see him. I'm assuming Madison will get some roles just to kind of take some off of him. Speaking of stopping the run, just a couple quick notes. We're not doing the preview today. We're not doing the preview right now, but a couple quick notes. I mean, the teams do focus on stopping the run, and we've seen in the past some teams would start sending blitzes to stop the run. I mean, there was a stretch of time last year where teams were blitzing the Vikings 20 plus times just to sell out to stop the run. And sure, it did cause some issues in the back end because you could give up some big plays by not having players back there. But if they ran the ball, it helped stop the run. And if you can get to Kirk Cousins, you get some sacks, you could possibly force some turnovers. Kirk Cousins did pretty well under pressure. He did. However, that's what some teams kind of revert to. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions went a little bit heavier hacking downhill. Kind of the style that I felt like the Browns were playing with against the Vikings is kind of how I felt like we played against the Bears. If it wasn't for maybe some contain issues, which I think should be a little bit easier this week, considering that we're playing Kirk Cousins, not as much of a running quarterback. Saying he can't move, he's just not like a huge dual threat quarterback. So I think that'll help a little bit, but just playing downhill, getting upfield, linebackers, defensive linemen, Michael Brockers, splitting the zone rushing attacks like we did last week in Chicago. I actually think that practice is going to be perfect heading into this week, and we need that front seven to get after it. And defensive backs, got to set the edge. We had a couple issues last week where we did not set the edge. We let things bounce outside. That's got to be on point. They like to throw screens, so you've got to be able to get out there and make some tackles. I know it feels like a preview, so I'll leave it there. I think the Bears game could help this Lions defense prepare a little bit for this one. So let's continue down with this injury report. Joseph, the kicker, he's been practicing all week. He's going to play in this game. He is listed as in. Michael Pierce has been listed as out today. This one's not a huge surprise, and this may go on longer than this week. I feel like there were some good notes there, like him going out and stretching, so maybe it's not as bad as some people think it is. When asked about this position, because kind of that's their nose tackle in this defense, that's the guy that plays the one tech. He's the big guy. He's the 340-pound guy, and they've struggled a little bit against the run in the past. Teams have ran the ball like crazy, like Cleveland. Hunt getting 14 carries. I think Nick Chubb had like 20 carries. I expect to see the Lions try to run the ball, and if they can find success there, that's going to be huge for this game plan, because that front four, especially considering how our O-line played against Chicago, that's going to be the key. So if you can run the football, the more you can just kind of lean on this run game, I think the better your chances are in this game. This could be a very fast game. I'll say that. This is one of those games that could be done by 4 o'clock. But Michael Pierce, he's a stud. This is a big loss for them in this game. Talk about the idea of Dalvin Tomlinson moving inside. But when Mike Zimmer was asked about this, he said he feels good about the options that they do have in Armand Watts stepping into that role, who's played pretty well last week against Cleveland when he had to step in really for the second half, play about 56% of the snaps. So, no changes there on maybe what they're probably going to do schematically with him not in the game. Amir Smith-Marset, the rookie receiver, he is also listed as out. He has not practiced this week. Actually, he was in that challenge where they were trying to, guess the code. They were trying to guess the code. He was in that, his number. Okay, trivia question. Let's do it then. Comment down below, what was Amir Smith-Marset's number in college? Hint, he played at Iowa. Don't look it up. What was his number in college? I know some of y'all will know from draft time. Comment that down below.
Yeah. Who's the man?
You are?
Who's the man, Ned?
Jesus. Me.
Yes. Say it. Who's the man?
Who's the man?
No, say who. I'm the man.
You're the man.
You're the man.
I'm the man.
You're the man.
That's right.
Say it.
I'm the man.
Say it.
Yeah, I'm the man.
Louder.
I'm the man.
Yes. Come on.
Right guard is going to be playing in this game. He has been full participation throughout the week. When you look at their offensive line, I think the left side maybe has a little bit more questions than the right side. The right side of the O-line is pretty good, especially with the right guard being healthy. The left side's probably got a little bit more questions, but either way, he should be in this week. Nick Vigil, full participation once again. Yesterday was an improvement for full participation, and today, again participating, he has been listed as in. So their linebackers are healthy. It'll just be about where do the snaps go. But this front seven, aside from Michael Pierce, is pretty darn healthy. Specifically the linebackers, they're all ready to go, and that includes an Anthony Barr debut. And finally, D.D. Westbrook has been labeled as in. He's made a couple of plays in the past game this year. I don't know if we'll see him a ton in this game. He has 2 receptions this season, but this former Jacksonville Jaguar will be playing into this game. So that is the injury report for the Minnesota Vikings. We heard Mike Zimmer say the fans need to be loud because they will be at home and try to throw off this offense a little bit. So I'm just ready for it. Zimmer did credit the Lions defensively, mixing up coverages, third down defense, some of the interesting blitzes they'll throw at you. And that's kind of what we've talked about. The Lions focus on third down, and that's where we've really had a lot of success, is getting off the field on third down. And we've also talked about that the Lions this week, we're going to work on that every day in practice. Third down situations, that way they start picking these things up. And Darren Campbell did say that, honestly, throughout the week, it's been pretty 50-50. Offense is one half, defense is one about half. But we know Lions have been good on third downs. By the way, it's getting dark in here. So that is good practice for this Lions offense. But speaking of the Lions, let's move on to their side of the injury report. We have some designations there, and we have some great news. Top, TJ Hockenson once again participated in practice today. He has been listed as questionable for this game. Back-to-back days of practice. That is great news. Mike Zimmer also talked about TJ Hockenson, how much of a threat he is, how well he runs his routes. Hockenson is a big part of this offense in a lot of different ways. Blocking, catching, distractions, just having him on the field like we talked about yesterday is what it's all about. And Hockenson, back-to-back days of participation, that's a good sign going forward. Here's the big one, though. Penei Sewell. We said yesterday, even though he was listed with no participation, Anthony Lynn was not counting him out. And, well, he may be onto something. Penei Sewell returned to practice for the first time this week in limited fashion. He has been listed as questionable, not doubtful, so that's good news. And according to Dan Campbell, he could still play this weekend. Him and TJ Hawkinson, according to DC, have been getting better every single day this week. So great news there. Great news, especially with Penei Sewell, because if Penei Sewell can play, even though he struggled a little bit last week, and you want to see him bounce back from that. You would like to see him go back out there and get another crack at it. But also having a Penei Sewell, assuming he's healthy enough, having a Penei Sewell means that you don't have to move around this offensive line a ton. And I think that's kind of the last thing we need to start moving around pieces again. If we can stick with what we got, even though that means Matt Nelson in a backup center, moving around your right guard or left tackle, things like this, it can make things really crazy. So the more the Lions can keep things the same and let players continue to work in their spot, I think the better. And plus, it was such a short week that the Lions even said, we don't got a lot of time to experiment. So whatever they were going to, it was going to happen. So hopefully Penei Sewell can play this weekend, but that is great news. Michael Brockers, full participation. Maybe it's because I said this yesterday, and the Lions were watching and said, hey, you know what? We got to fix this Michael Brockers issue. This guy's limited every day in practice. Let's put him as full participation, even if it didn't happen. Full participation for Brockers. He has been labeled as in for this week. I mean, that's an improvement because every week he's questionable. Every week he's limited. But he's playing this Sunday. Oh, yeah. Michael Brockers, who was outstanding in Chicago. Literally, don't underestimate how big that is that he's playing because he arguably is our best defensive player right now. Seriously, he's been that good, especially last week. And what he did against Chicago, I think he can do a lot of those things against Minnesota and help us a ton. All right, Trey Flowers, once again, limited participation. Flowers, we've heard him speak to the media, talking about working back to it, but back-to-back days of limited participation. He said he's getting there in terms of, being ready to go, even though he's wearing that right knee brace, knee brace, the ability to get outside, play on the edge, play in space. But it sounds good. He seemed like he was in good spirits talking to us, but back-to-back days of practice is, of course, good news for Trey Flowers. We'll see if the Lions mix up any fronts this week, depending on how healthy he is. But it seems like he's going to play. But this is good news for Trey Flowers. And finally, you have DeAndre Swift and you have Jamal Williams. Both of these running backs listed as questionable. The same injuries throughout this week. Swift has had the groin injury for weeks now. Jamal Williams is kind of a new addition this week. He's been limited all week. So both of them at practice all week, just in limited fashion, and they're both listed as questionable for this game. Now that we're speaking of the running back position, I want to bring up Jermar Jefferson because that's who Dan Campbell brought up a few times in his presser today. They asked about some of these young guys potentially getting some opportunities, and he said the first guy that came to his mind was Jermar Jefferson. They want to see Jermar Jefferson get out there and do some things. He feel like they can help. They feel like he can help this offense. I'm a huge Jermar fan. I think Jermar, with a couple of opportunities, could be a game changer in a good way for us. Make some huge plays because I think he's a very talented running back. However, Dan Campbell also brought up the point that we need him on special teams first, and he said he's not quite there yet. It's hard to judge in practice where a guy's at in special teams just because the drills that they do, they're not really hitting each other. You get about 20. The drills are sort of strange how they do it. We saw it in training camp. So I don't know if they're doing anything different. Sounds like Dan Campbell wants to have him activated soon. I'm not going to say that's this week. He has not been activated this year. But depending on the health of Swift and Jamal, I'm hoping they're both good to go. Maybe we see Jermar Jefferson active this week, possibly. We've seen Corey Ballentine do the kick return, so they don't necessarily need to have Godwin active. Maybe they could give that spot to Jermar Jefferson, but it does come down to special teams because Godwin does give you special teams ability. So that's what it will come down to. But he talked a lot about Jermar and wanting to get him out there and hopefully help the team and just start getting him around, to starting to play. And that could be bringing him in slowly, kind of like we've done with Kadero Hodge, but just getting him going. Now, speaking of some of this stuff, cornerback position. We've talked about the cornerback spot all week long. And Campbell said, yeah, we're going to pretty much see everybody at the cornerback spot this week. That means we know Jerry Jacobs is going to get more snaps. He deserves a shot, according to Dan Campbell. So we're going to see that. Kind of expecting he's going to start this week. Aaron Glenn and Campbell have both said that we are still going to see Bobby Price. And they also brought up that Corey Ballentine is a guy that we could see some reps at cornerback. We saw Daryl Worley play safety. So Ballentine, who we've seen out of special teams, actually could be playing some cornerback. Now, what I remember watching the film back, we did a video when we signed it, if you guys want to check it out. I didn't think he was that great playing cornerback. He had some struggles, but he's still a very young player. He's very, very athletic, and he's one of those guys that has played both slot and on the outside. And we talked about Aaron Glenn yesterday comparing Jerry Jacobs to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and the ability to play slot, nickel, outside. And like Aaron Glenn said, I mean, nickel is a starter in today's defense. You're kind of a starter for nickel. That's why they're going to start getting paid like we've seen them get paid over the last few years. I mean, you just have to have cornerbacks. So maybe we'll even get a Ballentine look this week. at the cornerback spot as well. Heard from Aubrey Pleasant a little bit, and Aubrey Pleasant, man, I just love the energy he brings. He brought up the whole, Jeff Okudah situation because we haven't seen him since then. What he's learned from that is you don't want to be clickbaited, right? Because obviously that went on all over the place because the cameras caught it. Was it CBS? It might have been Fox. I don't know. Someone caught it, and they had all those clips, and they had that clip of Aubrey Pleasant and Jeff Okudah, that exchange that they had in that game. They have great relationships with the players. I still talk to Jeff Okudah. I talked about him when he went in for, surgery. He's there at practice every single day because he's still a part of this team. He's in the meetings. So there's still a good relationship going on there. And he said the relationship we have with all these cornerbacks is really good. And, you didn't hear any cornerbacks come out and say that this was a bad thing or this was a problem or, I'm wrong there. The relationship between him and his cornerbacks, he says, really good. And it's just one of those sports that's high risk, high reward. He felt like it was good timing. And then he said later there was a mistake and I came back and embraced him. But he was like, the reason I got on him was actually because he felt like he could have made an interception and he didn't make that interception because he didn't push on it. So I don't remember that game extremely well, but I thought I would at least bring it up because we did get to hear from him today. I really like Aubrey Pleasant. I think this is a very good piece. And hey, go look at LA Rams secondary right now. And both coaches were asked about Amani today, but they didn't want to jinx nothing. So I ain't even going to go to that. Anyways, I'll see you guys soon this weekend. This weekend we're going to get to the preview. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Pride, for watching, and I'm out.